stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Welcome to Primary Technology, the show about the tech news that matters. Today we're talking about the R1. Yes, I have it here in hand, and it's not great. I posted a review. We're going to talk all about the updates. M4 iPads, could that be coming next week? Mark Gurman thinks they're getting the newest Apple Silicon chip. Some updates to iOS 18 calendar and reminders. The EU is forcing Apple to bring changes to the iPad, and Tesla is struggling. This episode is brought to you by you, those who support the show directly. I'm one of your hosts, Stephen Robles, and joining me as always, my good friend Jason Aten. How's it going, Jason?
I'm good because living in Michigan, it's finally warm enough to wear a short sleeve shirt when we record this podcast.
Oh my word, I can't even talk about it. It was 90 degrees yesterday here in Florida, which some people love. I'm less so, but that's fine. I would like a temperate spring.
I don't love 90 degrees.
We go right from winter to spring to summer. Like, we don't get a spring in Florida. It's like 50, 60 degrees, and then it's 90 degrees one day after the other.
50, 60 degrees, by the way, for the rest of the world is spring. So you just get a spring and a summer, just to be clear.
That is true.
You know that the only time my family will come to Florida is in November because
that
it's like warm enough. I mean, it's 70, which is compared to here where it's 25 or 30, and yet it's not 90. We will not come when it's 90.
No. And I will say, whenever I complain about temperature, Basic Apple Guy on social media then sends a screenshot of his weather, which is like 1 degree, 2 degrees, but it's Celsius, so I have no idea.
It makes no sense. You have no idea. You're like, oh, so it's the same. It's just as hot there, apparently.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I do see little like snowflake symbols sometimes on the forecast. I'm like, okay, well, that means snow, I guess.
I do have one weather pro tip. Sorry to derail this.
Oh, weather pro tip.
So early in the show. So
no, it's good.
My weather pro tip. No. This is not an app pro tip. This is just in general weather. My pro tip is do not say yes to an invitation to go to Dubai in July, which rhymes. So that should be easy to remember. But my first time in Dubai was at a conference in July, okay. And it was 117 degrees, and you literally would walk out the doors of the hotel. And before you got in your Uber, you had sweat through all of your clothes.
No, that's crazy.
So
that's wild.
No, I'll give an actual
pro tip. I thought you were giving like a tech tip, so I'm going to give a tech tip, which is if you're in the weather app on your iPhone and you go to like the precipitation map, it shows you your location down here, but you can actually tap and hold anywhere on the map, and it will show you the forecast for where you just tapped. It'll show you like the approximate city or whatever. So, if you're traveling or whatever and you don't feel like adding it to the weather app as like one of your locations, you can literally just pinch and zoom somewhere. Like here's California, tap and hold, and look right there, Sacramento. And then you can add it to your location. I thought that was that was in one of my tap and hold tip videos on my YouTube channel. But anyway, it's too early to plug something like that. I want to give some 5-star review shout outs and then shout out our community, which is amazing. J.O. Knoxville, battery percentage off. Thank you, J.O. Knoxville. One more for the team. We're going to do a poll on this in the community, too. We're going to find out. Tig Zola, battery percentage on. Nobody's perfect.
Yes, thank you.
But he enjoyed your Ethernet story in our bonus episodes. Yeah, that was very good. Old Juke and Kid15C, who's Kid B in the community. So here's what I want to say. If you haven't heard yet, there's a community now where many primary technology listeners and viewers, we've now converged in a place where we can comment and interact and have lots of fun as a community. Last week, we just launched it a day before the podcast aired, and I said, right now we're paying for it. If we reach 100 members in this first weekend, I will upgrade our account so we can have unlimited members. And incredible, we have now 120 members just in the first week. So thank you all for showing up, for being a part of the community so quickly. Everybody coming there. It's just awesome. And so 120 members.
Steven's like, if we get more than 100 people, it will cost me money. And everyone was like, hold my beer. Let's do this. We're good.
Maybe they just wanted me to spend money. That's fine. But we have 120 members now. And honestly, it's been amazing this first week. One of the reasons we started this is because interacting on social media, algorithmically driven feeds, you just don't see everything. And here we can all interact, and it's been great. We have a post per episode. So like last week, I post whenever there's a new episode, and we have 44 comments on that post, which is amazing. Jason actually had a very cool conversation here. I pinned it to the side. So this is what it looks like, by the way, if you're watching on YouTube, or you can go to social.primarytech.fm. Jason, you posted one, said, show us your setup. And so you got a picture of your setup here, and now there's like 91 comments and a bunch of people sharing their setups, which is, it's just awesome. Just very cool. to see that engagement. So it's totally free to join. This is just a place where we created so that we can interact, where listeners and viewers, where you all can like meet each other, which has been amazing. Apparently there's like 1,000 of you in near where you, Indiana.
Yeah.
So if we ever do a meetup, I guess we have to go to Indiana.
1,000 of our 120 members live in Indiana. It's amazing how the math works, but yes.
That was hyperbolic. But anyway, you could go. There's a place where you could introduce yourself, and I've been organizing the space over the last week or so, and so there's a place, if you want to see the videos I post on YouTube, there's a whole section just for that. We won't go everywhere, and then there's a place where Jason's publishing his articles, so it's really fun. Encourage you to go. There's a link in the podcast description and the video description, or just go to social.primarytech.fm. And we're going to do something fun next week because there's an iPad event. We might get, well, we're going to talk about what we might get, but we're going to do a live stream recording recapping the event. It's going to be our first live stream recording. It's probably going to be around 3 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday, but stay tuned. If you join the community, you'll be the first to know. You'll get all the updates, and all the links will be there. So go join the community, and we'll share how to watch it live. But it's exciting. We're going to do our first live show. It's amazing.
I just assumed this was live. I mean, I have to take a shower before we do this regardless, so it's really no different.
It's no different. I do need you to prepare a monologue, if you would, like a Tonight Show host, please.
You just be careful what you ask for.
Do some jokes. Need you to do some jokes. All right. I want to talk about the Rabbit R1 because this has been, I'm still wearing the Humane Eye pin. I think I've asked it maybe 3 things in the last week, but now it's just like a fashion accessory. I'm just wearing it there. Now, my Rabbit R1, I've not seen it do this yet. If you're watching, I tried to turn it on this morning to order DoorDash. It's going to be my, 12th day trying to order DoorDash on this thing. And now there's a rabbit running on a hamster wheel, which I feel like is strange.
Steven just hasn't eaten in 12 days. He's been trying to order DoorDash from his
waiting.
rabbit.
Literally still waiting.
He's wasting away.
Yes, exactly. So I did a review, and I basically showed everything the rabbit can do and not do, and the video did well. I just want to thank, personally, John Gruber for linking to my Rabbit R1 review video in one of his articles. This is my application to maybe one day be a guest on the talk show. John Gruber, I'd appreciate that. Have me and Jason on. We could do a trio. I'd love to do that. But anyway, thank you for linking that. So I've been trying to use the Rabbit R1 for the past week. You still didn't get one, right? You don't have one.
No.
You've abstained from any of these ridiculous gadgets.
Well, and they're like, we're not sending them to reviewers. You can buy one. I'm like, no.
So I will say, yeah, they did not send it to me. I had to buy it. They did expedite my order, which maybe they regret now because I've just been kind of not trashing it, but I'm trying to use it. And I posted this video a couple of days ago. It went a little viral on Twitter and Threads. This is me in a real-time video trying to order DoorDash. The video is over 6 minutes long because that's how long it took for me to apparently to pause a Threads video on the desktop. You just click away from the window. That's how you pause it, by the way.
That's helpful to know, actually.
Yeah, it is actually helpful to know. So if I click away, it just pauses. But anyway, I shared this video. It's been shared a lot. It has failed multiple times. I cannot get the Rabbit R1 to actually finish a DoorDash order. It fails at checkout every time. I've tried multiple times. Every time I try it, it takes about 10 minutes because that's how long these loading screens are. And if you didn't know, I'm not sure if we talked about this on a previous episode. The large action model that the Rabbit R1 uses is this bizarre, like, virtual machine situation where when your little Rabbit R1 device is saying, all right, we're opening DoorDash, it's basically communicating with some other device in a server room that is then going to try and virtual machine click around on the DoorDash website as you do things on your little device here, which sounds completely insane. Privacy and security is a concern. But then it also just keeps failing on me. I can't do it.
It is hard to believe that a $200 piece of plastic will not bring you food. This is unacceptable in 2024.
There was an update. There was a software update. I updated. Maybe that's what it's doing now. Maybe there's another update. It's still running on this little treadmill. I really don't know what's happening. I updated it. I tried again. Didn't work. I want to give a little bit of credit because on Twitter, had a lot of replies. A lot of people were like, this thing is a piece of garbage. But this one guy, Chris, said he managed to order some tea from DoorDash, so I guess it works in some places. But I think
I did see.
one of the
Was it Quinn from Snazzy Labs who said something? I don't know if it was him for sure. Who posted like that they were able to get it to bring them a burger, but that it like auto selected the largest tip amount or something like that. It's like, at least ask me first.
And this was funny because if you think back to the launch event, this was announced at CES a few months ago in January, and one of the things was like, one day this thing is going to be able to book an entire European trip for you, including flights and hotels, and it's like, I can't even see my DoorDash order. I don't think it's going to book anyway. So there's that. But the reason I wanted to talk about it is get to this point, because Android Authority, this is Mishaal Rahman, he actually got the APK, which is like what an Android app, like the file, the packaging for an Android app. He actually got it off the R1 and was able to then install it on an Android phone, a Google Pixel 6a, and he's basically running the Rabbit R1 OS, quote unquote, on an Android phone, which basically means like this is an app. Like this is an app on just some cool hardware. Now, the Rabbit R1 team was upset about this. They issued a statement to The Verge, and they were like, listen, this is not just an app. There's a something firmware and the large action model something, and that's so you can it's not just this. And it's like, it really just feels like this is an app.
And you got Teenage Engineering to make you a really cool thing to put it on.
Yeah. So I just it's weird. I posted one video about comparing the Rabbit R1 to the Humana Pin and Siri. And I didn't give the Rabbit R1 like much screen time, and people called me out on it, which is fine. I had it for like 2 hours, so it was just I was just trying to do some quick comparisons, and it was interesting how people like came to defend this device. Like there were a lot of, I guess, people who really believe in this thing, and they were like, "You didn't even do the large action model stuff. It's supposed to give it a shot. It has a teach mode. It can learn and whatever." Which, by the way, teach mode is not out yet. It's quote unquote still in development, so you can't even try it. And I was surprised like how much backlash there was on that. So that's when I posted my in-depth video and then posted the 6-minute video on social media of trying to order DoorDash. And then all those people got very quiet. I'm not sure where they went, but they got very quiet. And overall, it just feels like I think the AI gadget is the era already over, Jason? Is it done?
I don't think it's over. I think we just aren't there yet. But also, all of these things should just be smartwatches that connect to your phone already. Like I'm super optimistic that if anyone at Apple is paying attention, that we'll just be able to do all of these things because okay, back up for a second. Yes, my understanding, and I think that this was the understanding when they announced it at CES. By the way, I have two. We're backing out like onion layers.
You just interrupted yourself twice. I just want to point that out.
I have two regrets in my journalistic career. One is I wish I would have gone to CES this year because I wish I would have been at that demo, that announcement. My other one is 2 years ago. When I was in Portugal. CZ, who's the chairman and founder of Binance, was giving a press conference, and this was 3 days before FTX collapsed. Okay, and I had a chance to ask a question, and I wanted to ask the question because CZ is the one who had like sort of drawn attention to this article that ended up leading to this. I wanted to say, aren't you worried about drawing attention to yourself? Like if you're pointing the finger at this, and he just got sentenced to 4 months in prison because over like. I don't remember exact money laundering, I think it was. So I have two regrets. That one, I didn't ask the question. And then this one, I didn't go to the R1, the thing. But at CES during the demos, I think it was pretty clear that essentially there was just like a stack of cheap Samsung A-series Android phones in a room somewhere, and you're just logged into one of them. It's kind of like the way was it Beeper that was doing that, where you're like logging your iMessage onto like a Mac Mini in the cloud or something like that. So like you're just doing that, and it's just running on an Android phone. What their software is doing is controlling the Android phone. But like that's a thing that has existed for a very long time where you can have software that can interact on a UI. They do it in a lot of industries do that kind of thing. Rabbit's just not doing it very well, right? They could have just bought a software off the shelf that does that better than it. And I think I think it was MKBHD's video about this, which was slightly less brutal than his Humane AI pin. I think the title was something like barely reviewable. And his point was not that it's a terrible idea or a terrible product. The point was all of the things they talked about during the demo, it just doesn't do hardly any of them yet. Right? There's like 4 apps you can log into. You can't take photos with it. You can't get them somewhere, like look at them later. And it has a touch screen that you can't touch except for to type on it in terminal mode. It's like, instead of using this weird scroll wheel button thing to pick things and to go back, why can't I just, hello, it's got a touch screen. It's just weird.
It is very strange. I discovered the touch screen when I put in my Wi-Fi password when I first got it. And I was like, oh, this is a touch screen, but then you can't touch anything on it.
And they don't want you to think it's a smartphone.
Which Dave 2D is also on YouTube, and he basically did this thing like, you know what I would change about this thing? I would put some volume buttons on this side, and then I would maybe just get rid of the click wheel, because honestly, this click wheel is infuriating. Like, you have to scroll too far to do it. He's like, I would make it a little longer, and then make it oh, wait a minute, that's a smartphone. It's like...
But, if what it's doing is controlling an Android device in the cloud, you know what would be like perfectly equipped to control another smartphone device? Your Apple Watch. Like, if I could, I'm not kidding you. I thought about this the other day. What I really want to do, like more than anything, is when somebody sends me an email or asks me, hey, could we meet or could we do this? I want to just say to my watch, hey, watch, when's a good time for me to schedule a 30-minute meeting next Thursday? Because guess what? Apple has access to my calendar, all of this stuff. Like, I just want it to be smart enough to do that. And if it could say to it, bring me a cheeseburger, that would be amazing as well. But it's like all of the pieces are already there. Apple just hasn't been using the large action model yet.
Right.
But there's just zero chance that this is going to succeed outside of the ecosystem of our smartphones. It's just not.
Yeah, which the other AI gadget that I'm wearing strictly for fashion purposes, because I watched
Captain
that Gucci
Pin.
video. Yeah, my Humane AI pin. It had an update too. It's now on software 1.1.3. The update process for the Humane AI pin is completely obscure. You have to make sure you're logged in. You have to make sure the pin is unlocked, and then put it on the charger overnight and hope it updates. And there's no way to force update or anything like that. It supposedly it improves some things. Like video stabilization, contacts and messaging, which I have yet to use. I'm not going to use that. The vision prompt approved such and such. So here's the thing. I've had both of these AI gadgets, I guess, for over a week. I've had the Rabbit R1 for over a week, the Humane AI pin for maybe 2 weeks. I will just say having a device that you also have to carry around in your pocket immediately makes this more frustrating because I already have my phone. And so to have a second device that is so close to being phone-like but so bad at so many things is infuriating. Whereas the Humane AI pin, while really expensive and no one should buy, as a wearable, to your point, it just makes more sense. Like an Apple Watch is something you put on at the beginning of the day and then hopefully don't think about it until you want to use it or want to need it. The AI pin is closer to that kind of, it's just with you all day and maybe provide some value sporadically. And if you're not using it, it's not a pain in the neck because it's not in your pocket. It's not taking up space in your bag or whatever. So I do think the Humane AI pin form factor is a little closer to what could an AI gadget be that's maybe more useful. I don't need another screen to interact with because no screen is going to beat my iPhone screen. So I do think if this could do something with voice that's compelling, and I have asked it random things, like when I'm with my kids, many times a topic will come up. And I don't like making stuff up. I want I want an actual answer. If we're talking about space or we're talking about, water treatment. We didn't talk about that, but I don't know why that came to mind. I want to be able to just ask a thing and have it explain it. And so there is some value to that. Whereas the Rabbit R1, I have received no value from this yet. And I think that's also the no picture and video thing is it's just really frustrating too because it has a screen where you can preview what the camera's seeing. The Humane AI pin doesn't even have that. You can't see, but it can take a picture and a video. But this that has a vision, I'm looking at a thing, and it just can't do it. So
I mean, it's already doing all of the work. It's like it's super the Seinfeld reference about the reservation. It's like you can see the picture, you can display the picture on the screen for me. You just can't keep the picture. You can't keep it.
Just hold on to it. Just hold on to it for a little bit.
Like take those bits and put them into storage or something like that. I don't know. I do think it seems obvious that the reason that these aren't succeeding is that they're trying to build a thing that is dependent on something else, and so they're having to recreate the something else. And that's hard because the companies that have, like, other than Apple and Google, who has been able to do that? Create the software stack required for all of that kind of thing. And so it's just kind of bananas that anybody thinks that they're going to be able to do that outside of that ecosystem.
Right.
I think these are great, like, concepts, but it's like, have you ever been to an auto show before? You know, we get the North American Auto Show here in Detroit, right? Big thing. Yeah. It's amazing. You walk through there and you're like, that's cool. Never going to see that because it's just like, that's what these are. These are concept cars that are supposed to inspire things. And maybe 6 years down the road, you actually see, they're not supposed to be products, right? They're not supposed to be things you take money from people for. Now the Rabbit is a little bit less egregious in that particular area. But I think, like, yes, companies should keep trying these things. They should just stop trying to sell them.
That I think is what makes people the most upset. It's like, these are products that you can buy. Like, anyone can buy these and you get them, but it does not do the things it purports to do, which is the problem. And look, I don't know what's happening. It's still doing the wheel. It's still on the hamster wheel.
Is it like a screensaver?
Well, there's a percentage, like it's doing something. It's now at 100%, but it's still on the wheel. And it's been doing this for an hour. I just want to specify. And it's not told me what it's doing either.
Is that the charging indicator that the wheel is generating electricity?
Is that what it
somewhere?
is? No. Well, before, when I plugged it in, it just shows a little lightning bolt. I've now unplugged it from the charger. Now it doesn't turn on at all.
You made it angry.
I think I just bricked it.
You just made it angry.
Let me plug it back in. I don't know what's about to happen.
And is it true that it didn't even come? It doesn't come with the charger. It doesn't come with the charging cable. Any of that?
That is true. No, it doesn't. Geez, I just plugged it back in, and now it's at, what does that say? 0 again? Oh, it says it's charging, but the Rabbit stopped running. Oh no. the rabbit's
well, you
tired.
Disconnected him from his energy source.
That's the Energizer. Oh, there could have been so many Energizer Bunny like references. Yeah, that would have been funny.
Okay, real question though. I know you want to talk about your software update, but not your software update.
I want to get to iPads.
Okay.
I want to talk about iPads.
But I do want to ask one question. You talked about, like, that the Humane AI pen is come in handy when you're hanging out with your kids and you just ask it things. Are you, like, just wearing this around the house? Like, is it a thing you actually? Because that's my problem with it. Again, watch, great. People have been wearing watches for hundreds of years. I can just put one on my wrist. If you put a strap on that, I would wear it on my wrist, but I would never put it on my shirt.
I've been wearing it most days. I wear it, but I don't think about the battery, because if you start thinking about the battery, you get real mad because it doesn't last very long. So I just kind of put it on, and I'm like, this is going to work as long as it's going to work. And when it dies, it's just going to be on me, and I'll just take it off, and I'll be done for the day.
When it dies, I'm going to have to start writing down my questions for tomorrow.
Exactly. So if I do that, it's less frustrating. When I was trying to manage, like, keeping it charged and active the whole time, it was annoying. I did show it to somebody last night. I was with a group of people, and I showed the laser projector, and that felt futuristic to them. They was like, wow, that's kind of wild that you could do that. And honestly, while it's frustrating to use and, like, opening the settings is really weird, it is kind of a cool, different idea for how to solve the problem of no screen. And obviously they don't want you to interact with that laser projector a lot, obviously, because the thing also overheats and stops working if you do it a lot. But it is a cool, different idea for a UI. And so kudos just for trying it. But
I mean, the other way you solve the problem of not having a screen is you just give it a screen.
Anyway, AI gadgets. I think we'll see. Anyway,
speaking of AI gadgets.
Oh, see, thank you for the transition. Yes. Speaking of AI gadgets, Mark Gurman over here at Bloomberg is saying the iPad event next week, which a reminder is Tuesday, May 7th. It's happening at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. He is saying that we might see the M4 chip be launched at this event in the new iPads. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this would be the first time a new M series chip debuts in an iPad. This has not happened before.
I think that's true.
Because the M2 came out first in the, I think, M2 MacBook
Air.
Pros, and then we got the M2 Mac Mini.
Yeah.
And then the M3s came out with MacBook Pro and iMac.
Mm-hmm.
And so this would be very different for Apple to launch the next series of M chips in an iPad, skipping the M3 generation, the newest iPad, the one that you could buy today, which, to be clear, don't buy an iPad this week because new ones are coming next week. And even if you don't plan on getting a new one, old ones get cheaper when new ones are released. So just wait. Don't buy an iPad. You'll be able to get better deals next week. But at M4, so there'll be no M3 iPad Pro. They think Mark Gurman is saying they'll go straight to M4 and it'll be an AI-powered device, which is a curious prediction, I'll say, for Mark Gurman, because this is not WWDC. WWDC is literally 1 month away. We're 30-something days from WWDC, where Apple's going to announce all the software features. I wonder, and this has happened the last couple of years with Apple, where they'll kind of release and announce some of the accessibility features coming in the next version of iOS. They might even like pre-announce some things that could have been at WWDC, but to save time, like last year, because the Apple Vision Pro was announced at WWDC, they did things earlier. I wonder, do you think they will pre-announce or maybe tease some iPad OS 18 features with the event? Not that it would come out with these new iPads, but that they say it will be, like, these features will be coming? You think they would do that?
I don't think so. Apple is relentlessly disciplined about that sort of thing, right? They, like, WWDC is when we talk about the next operating systems, and they almost never will talk about those things in advance. It's like we don't talk about things until we're ready to talk about them, right? And if you talk about it now, it makes it less compelling to talk about it later. I mean, I know that sounds obvious, but they don't talk about pieces of it now. I'll be real interested what they mean by the M4 iPads are an AI device. Because if you remember at the October Mac event, it was the first time Apple started talking about AI, period. And what they basically were saying, these M3 MacBook Pros are the best devices for AI stuff. Like, that wasn't the exact quote. And again, all of the things that they referenced are like, you can run Copilot, which runs on Azure in the cloud. It's like,
has nothing to do with the chip on the machine.
Right. Not really. And I mean, when you think about the AI on device stuff, you're talking about things like, you know, face recognition in your Photos app. That's like that kind of a thing. And so it'll be interesting, like, what do they mean by the M4? I don't think there's going to be any software features that they're talking. I think they're going to just be talking about, like, look at what we did to this chip. So it is super ready for whatever it is we're going to announce in terms of software stuff. I don't understand the idea that the M4, because we just in October got the M4 MacBook Pros. We just got, M3 MacBook Pros. We just got M3 MacBook Airs. We still don't have M3 Mac Studios, Mac Minis, Mac Pros. We do have, I guess we have iMacs, whatever. But I feel like Apple, I envision right now, Johnny Cerrugi's chip lab is a lot like Lucy and Ethel at the chocolate factory. The stuff these chips just keep coming down the conveyor belt so fast. They're like, you know what, take these ones and put them in the iPads. Yes. I don't even care anymore. So, because it doesn't make a lot of sense that the iPad, presumably we're talking about the iPad Pro, will be the most powerful base chip in Apple's lineup. And if that's the case, what are they doing with the iPad Pro? Like, what will that thing do, right?
Well, that's why I'm suggesting, how could they do an M4 announcement, brand new chip? Yes, Johnny Cerrugi will talk all about the chip itself in his lab, but then to just announce hardware features, and you could say AI-powered device, but all you can say, like what you mentioned, is it's ready for AI features, and it's like, and then not say what those AI features are for. Now, maybe this chip will also play into the updated Apple Pencil, which has different features. I've seen haptic feedback as a possible feature, and redesign, you know, with the camera moves and all that, which we're going to talk about, like, what might we actually see at this event. But, I mean, those aren't, AI features, I'm not sure. And they could show off some third-party apps. Like, I think in a previous event, they actually showed DaVinci Resolve on the iPad, actually saying, like, you know, this is the full video editor or whatever. I guess they could talk about some third-party things, but it just seems odd to do it right before WWDC and not talk about software, but we'll see.
Yeah, I just think that there's definitely a story that they're going to tell at WWDC about, presumably Siri, maybe, about things that it can do. I don't think that they want to spoil that story
Sure.
by giving away too much of it. They may like wink and nod in that direction, but kind of,
Right.
and they may even do a, John Turnus, and there's one more device to make the transition, and that's a story for another day. Like but I don't
That's
think
true.
there's going to be and there's one more thing, and it's like, and now we can do the, iPad OS 18.
Yeah.
I don't know, because iPad OS is maybe Vision OS, but Vision OS and iPad OS are the same thing. Essentially, it's just,
Fair.
but that's the low. It's iOS, Mac OS, Watch OS, TV OS, and then there's iPad OS and Vision OS. That's not really true, but
What is the list that you are saying those are in? Just like
priority,
level of importance?
level
priority.
of that they care. Like we're going to start with iOS because that's the 2 billion
Yes.
users. Mac OS is like, well, we have to keep supporting the Mac. And then it's like, what are the accessories? Well, the Watch OS. But then, I don't think iPad, they didn't even introduce a new iPad for a year. And did iPad OS get any features that weren't already on the iPhone? No.
No.
You could do could you do multiple timers maybe? I don't even know. Like I think there was some weird little thing, but like we should throw a token to the iPad people.
It might get a calculator app. Might get a calculator app this year.
There's also, what is it called? Stage Manager. That's it. Stage Manager exists, and it's
but
terrible.
was that 17 or?
I'm just saying it exists on the iPad and not on the iPhone. That's the only thing I can think of that you can do on the iPad.
I don't use it anyways, but yeah. So, well, I'm curious what the story is going to be then. Aside from iPads, we'll talk about the split between iPad Pro, Air, and maybe the base model. Do we think we'll see anything else besides iPads at this event? I've had people actually ask me, like, should I buy AirPods Max? To which I say, no, don't do that.
Even if they update them, then no, you should not buy them.
I say, well, just in the off chance that this event on May 7th includes anything else besides iPads, maybe it's an AirPods Max, one of the longest in the tooth devices. Maybe they'll actually throw the M3 in a Mac Mini at the beginning of this event just because. Do you think we'll see anything? I mean, obviously it's a very iPad-focused event. The invite has a pencil in the image or whatever. Do you think we'll see anything besides iPads at this event?
I'm trying to remember. There were some events. It was 2022 when they did like the 3 events in the fall. They did like an iPad or something event. Then they did like the iPhone event, and then maybe they did I don't remember, but they did like a September, October, November, and that was the year that the iPhones were delayed a year. Or not a year, they were delayed like a month, but they released all the things they were going to do with the iPhone ahead of time, and then they did the iPhones, and then they did whatever. Right. So in those cases, they did introduce, I think, more than just the iPad, but it was like, let's clear the deck because we want to get these things out there already. We don't have the iPhones ready. I don't think that they're going to and now we have the Mac Mini with the M3 or the M4. I just don't think that that's a thing that they would do in this particular event, because it does seem super focused. Like they went out of their way to be like, this is an iPad event. Tell me this is an iPad event without telling me this is an iPad event. That's basically, they did that. I do think, and I know you think I'm joking, I do think that they are going to talk about the Apple Pencil working with the Vision Pro. I think
so?
that's yep. I think 100% that that's going to be a thing. I don't think they're not announcing a new Vision Pro. They're not going to even talk about it at all, except for to say it still exists as a product in our lineup. And here's a pencil you could use if you want to draw on a freeform board. I actually think, listen, you know what would be the killer app? And this has happened to me 4 or 5 times. We want to remodel our kitchen someday. I want to be able to put on the Vision Pro, have it scan the space, and then move things around or draw. Like, do you ever watch those home redesign shows? Like, Fixer Upper and Hometown and stuff. And they do the scene where like they show the thing and then they show the sketch of the 3D rendering of what it's going to look like. I want to do that on my Vision Pro, like so bad. Like I would actually, no, I wouldn't go buy one, but I would keep this review unit lots longer if I could do that. And I think having an Apple Pencil would be awesome. You could just draw on your environment.
So the event, I think the year you're thinking about is 2020, and here's why. Yes, that was the pandemic, but on the April 20th, 2020 event, they announced, I want to double check that this is the one I'm thinking of. They announced the new color of iPhone 12, AirTag, updated Apple TV, the redesigned iMac. This is when they redesigned the iMac. Oh, I'm sorry, this was 2021. April 20th, 2021. iPhone 12 color, AirTags. It was the launch of the AirTag, updated Apple TV, iMac. That was the first M1 iMac, and the M1 iPad Pro. That was all in the same event. And then I think it was the fall of 2020 when they had like the Apple Watch and iPad base model event in September, the iPhone 12 event in October. It was the high speed event because it was like the iPhone 12 and 5G or whatever. And then the November was the first M1 Mac event. I think that was the 3 in a row.
Yeah,
but
it was those 3 in a row. Yeah. And actually, the funny thing is that November event, if I remember correctly, the tagline was "One More Thing." Like they just branded the whole event "One More Thing," and it was the M1 MacBook Air, right? I think so.
Yes. So this April 20th event still looms large in my mind because this was a lot of things that they announced at once. iPad Pro, iMac, AirTag, which was long rumored. So I feel like there's a chance. That we might get a couple little things, maybe like throw in a updated HomePod Mini, which is also very long in the tooth. I don't know. I'm holding out that we might see something a little extra. But when it comes to iPads, I could see them refreshing the entire lineup. I wish the iPad Mini was a part of that, but I have a strong feeling it won't be. I don't know. What's the over-under on the iPad Mini? You think it's going to get updated? Or
no?
Ah, man.
I mean, I would love them to. I don't think that. I don't. It's kind of like that. It's like the iPhone Mini or whatever. What do they call that? What was the small iPhone?
iPhone
called?
Mini. The iPhone 12 Mini.
I just don't think. I mean, it lasted 2 years. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm afraid you're right. So I think we're going to get M4 iPad Pro, 2 sizes, OLED screen, hopefully on both, ProMotion, new pencil, new Magic Keyboard, all of that. I think we're going to get iPad Air. This is interesting. I'm curious what you think. iPad Air, maybe with an M2. So it separates it from the iPad Pro, but still updates it. Camera moves to the landscape side, both on iPad Pro and iPad Air. And the new iPad Air, I think, will also be compatible with any new accessories that launch, kind of keeping it in tandem with how it is now. And then an updated base model iPad. I'm not sure if this will happen, but I'm hoping that the home button iPad goes away and the base model iPad drops to maybe like $399, maybe $349. So then that can, like, the entire iPad lineup is home buttonless. And then in addition to all of that, we'll get an updated Magic Keyboard, updated Apple Pencil, and maybe a couple other accessories for like the base model iPad. That's what I think.
I think that they're going to keep selling the 9th gen iPad. I just don't. There's just no. They're going to keep selling.
It has Lightning.
Like, they're still Lightning. They're still selling the M1 MacBook Air at Walmart. That's really the only indicator
Walmart,
you need.
But they're not selling it first party.
They're making them though. They're still making M1 MacBook Airs to fulfill that channel.
I thought that Walmart announcement was that it was just to sell off whatever stock was left.
I asked. No, they are still selling. They're still making them for that distribution channel, and will continue.
Tim
to
Cook
do
is like,
that.
we got all these M1 chips laying around.
It's loosely enough on the conveyor belt. They just keep coming down the conveyor belt.
We're not wasting anything. We're not wasting a single gumdrop. Whatever was on there.
I had no idea Lucy was running the chip lab at Apple. But anyway, I think they're going to keep selling the 9th gen. I think that the 10th gen will basically be the same. They'll just, I guess.
Updated chip?
Maybe. What does that even have? The A7? Whatever. It's got an A chip. It's got some A chip in it. And so they'll put whatever the next A chip is that would go in that instead. I don't think, or maybe they put an M1 in it. They just got them coming down the line. They'll put the M1 in that thing. I don't know. I think, I don't even know, and I don't even care if they update the 10th gen iPad. Like, if there's no 11th gen just iPad, I don't know that anybody will care because that thing is fine. Like, they did what they were going to. It's what?
So it's running an A14 Bionic chip on this. It's $449 right now. It has the weird Apple Pencil thing. That's what that new Apple Pencil USB-C was. I think it was last year. So this is the base model iPad, and I feel like, we're on an A17 Pro in the iPhone. I could see that at least going up to A15.
Okay, give it a chip bump. I'm fine. Give it a chip bump. Yeah. But other than that thing is that's going to just stay the way it is because they're not changing the pencil for it. They're not changing the case. They're not doing any of that stuff because it's just not worth it, right? They want to sell that thing in volume, and they can't do much to it because you're right. They need to get the price down because they've still got that other one. Like, we bought a new iPad not that long ago, and we did not buy this one. We bought the 9th gen because guess what? It's perfectly fine. So
listen, but this screen right here, like, one of the things this event needs to do is clean up the Apple Pencil stuff because like the fact that you get to this screen when buying a 10th gen iPad, where you have to choose between the USB-C Apple Pencil and the first generation Lightning Pencil, how are they even selling that with as an add-on in the new purchased 10th gen Flow? Like that seems like you should.
That's not even the worst thing. I want you to think about something, Steven. Okay. A week from now, Apple will be selling 4 Apple Pencils.
No, I can't.
They will. They can't.
This
not.
is why they
How
need
could
to
they
get rid of that
possibly
Lightning.
not? How can they
get
possibly
rid of the
not?
Lightning. Get rid of the Lightning iPad, and then you can have at least USB-C, and then maybe the 3rd gen. I don't know if the 3rd gen is going to be backwards compatible. Probably not, because they're going to have to like move magnets around and charging or whatever. But they can have like the 3rd gen USB-C Apple Pencil, and maybe the 2nd gen.
No, they're going to be selling. Steven, I'm sending you a link.
No.
You need to scroll to the bottom of this link because this is the only thing you need to understand here. Because this chart is just going to get bigger in a moment. Scroll down to the features. Scroll down to the Apple Pencil features. If I could take over screen sharing right now, I would just do it. Keep going. Nope. Scroll down. Keep going. Keep going. Nope. Go back up a little bit. Go back up right there. This is this chart you need.
Thing.
Yeah. And there's going to be one more. There's going to be a 4th generation Apple Pencil there that I don't know what will be different about it, but it's going to have a button apparently. It's like, so you just have to, they can't get rid of that 1st gen one because first of all, even if they stop selling the 9th gen, there are schools that need to replace those, right? They have to.
Yeah, but they cannot have it in like you're purchasing a brand new iPad as a consumer Flow and offer the Lightning one just for schools. That's fine. Keep selling it.
I'm telling you, this page is going to be updated next week, and there will be 4 of them.
All right, okay. That's the prediction. We're gonna at our follow-up episode, our live stream after the event. We're gonna see, was Jason right? Are we gonna have a 4th pencil on this ridiculous chart? Or
to be fair, it's possible that the page won't actually be updated by then, but they will be selling 4 Apple Pencils. I'm sure.
I got to take a screenshot in case this page goes away. I'm gonna take a screenshot.
they're gonna destroy the evidence. Did you hear? Was it Phil Schiller that says that no one at Apple takes notes? They're just destroying evidence left and right. It's not true, but funny. That is what he said.
That is funny. Okay, so, but the base model iPad right now, which you can still buy brand new, what is it? It's $329. So the iPad. So look at how.
It's also fine.
$329.
It's fine for people who are buying that iPad. Yeah. It is. You're doing like nothing. You're just like giving it to a kid to play like Pokey Go and like Minecraft. And I have a kid who plays Minecraft on it, and he has no complaints.
A13. Listen, I do give Apple credit. The fact that you can buy this 5-year-old iPad and it still is great today and runs iPadOS 17 and can run a bunch of games that is great. But Lightning. It still has a Lightning. Can we please get rid of
$299 and make the other one $399, and everyone would be happy.
But this one's already $299 for education. I feel like
I know, but just make it $299 for people, not education people, and then make the 11th gen iPad $399 as a starting price. I think that okay. I mean, it doesn't solve the fact that yes, the iPad, it's ridiculous, and I do think that they're going to. This is. Here's the crazy thing. This is not even the worst part of the lineup, to be perfectly honest with you, because the iPad Air and the iPad Pro are where things often make very little sense, right? Because I don't understand. I mean, the iPad Air, if somebody asked me what they should buy for an iPad, I mean, I love my iPad Pro, but I don't recommend it for basically anyone. I would just say buy an iPad Air and you can use it for 10 years, and you don't even need, like, my mom bought an iPad Air instead of like a laptop. I mean, and it's fine.
Yeah. The iPad Air, it needs a little more differentiate. Well, I don't think they need. I don't think they need to differentiate the iPad Air more. They need to give people a reason. And right now there's an M1 versus an M2, but for most people the difference between an M1 and M2 is negligible in a tablet. Yeah, really, it's negligible in a laptop, but it's definitely nothing in a thing. So I think I think it's like the iPad Air becomes the base of the iPad Pro. They're going to look the same. Okay. They'll have different cameras because that makes sense. Give the Pro version more cameras. The screens will look the same. It's just the Pro will have OLED or mini LED. I don't care, like OLED or mini LED, whatever. But it'll have a better screen. It'll have the Pro motion, and then it'll probably be like M2 versus M4, or even if it's M3, that's great. Like that's fine. So other than that, I don't think that. I think if they move the camera on one, they'll move the camera on the other one. Like I think they'll just look the same, and especially since the rumors are both will be available in both sizes, then they have to just differentiate it based on the features. Right. Yeah, I do think we're going to see a bigger iPad Air because I think that would draw another segment of consumers who want the biggest screen possible, but for the cheapest possible. And if they could get it for whatever, the iPad Air right now is $599, $600. So maybe $650. It'd probably be $700 for the bigger size. But I think people will go for that.
What is the premium between the iPad Pro and the big iPad Pro?
That's a good question. Let's go in here. So it is $1099 for the. Oh no, $799 for the 11-inch. $1099 for the 12.9-inch.
So that is a $300 difference. Yeah,
$100 difference. I
no,
didn't realize it was that much.
Well, the 12.9 has a mini LED, so it's not
right.
just bigger. There's a better screen there, so probably $200 is going to be the difference in the price. You're probably right.
So yeah, but I think people will go for it. I think people would want that bigger Air with a Magic Keyboard because that is Apple's great at this pricing stuff. That is like right on the edge of like, do I get an M2 MacBook Air? Or do I get a big iPad Air with a Magic Keyboard, and it's literally going to be like the same price?
Yeah, don't do that, by the way. It'll weigh 3 pounds more. Because if what you want is an iPad Air that you're going to primarily use on a 350, well, no, that one's $399, right? Or $349, I don't know, whatever. If you're going to use it on a keyboard more than $300, you should just buy a laptop at that point.
Yes, but maybe. I mean, the Magic Keyboard, we should get an updated one, I'm hoping. Function row of keys. Maybe they'll make it lighter. Maybe they'll make it lighter and more portable. Maybe. It is very heavy.
Great. Mine sits in a drawer because I never take it away from my desk because it's like if I'm going to put that much weight in my backpack, I'm just going to take a laptop.
That's why I was just talking with someone on Threads from The Verge, Chris Welch from The Verge, basically talking about how he still loves the keyboard Folio. And I have to say, I did an entire video on it last year about why I think the Folio is probably one of the best keyboards for the iPad because it is incredibly light and it folds back if you want to use it as a tablet. It doesn't have a trackpad, but it's okay. Like it just has, 2 angles or whatever. It's great.
I'm trying to model it for you. See?
It's right okay. Let me turn off my screen share.
There you go. It's perfect.
Yeah, that's what, so light. Like it's barely adds any weight. Super
and
thin.
It's not a bad keyboard, honestly. It's not a great keyboard.
Right.
I'm a writer. I use a keyboard more than just about anybody, and I can use this. It's fine.
Yeah. I've done a lot. I did a lot of writing because before the Magic Keyboard came out, that's what I used full-time on my iPad. I wrote many, many long-form things on that keyboard, and it was great. And I also liked that the waterproofness. I don't know what the actual...
I spill my coffee all the time, and it's fine.
Wait, you spill it all the time?
I spill coffee every day.
Every day? How are you spilling that much coffee?
It's a disability, man. Leave me alone. I don't know.
Wait a minute. Are you knocking with your hand inadvertently?
No, I apparently my depth perception or whatever it is that, bringing the cup to the mouth is complicated. I don't know. I just, every day I look down and I'm like, oh, spilled some more coffee. I just do.
Okay. So it's not like you're spilling it across your desk every day. You're saying you get like drips and drabs.
I'm not a Neanderthal. No, I'm just sloppy. I'm
every day at some point you just knock it over.
I get really mad and I'm starting all over on this article and I can't that's what I need. Yeah. If I got a typewriter and I could slam that thing across, then that'd be fine. But instead I throw my coffee. That's not true.
Okay. All right. Any other predictions for this event?
No, I Stephen Hackett on Connected predicted that there would be Macs, but I don't see that. If they maybe the Mac Mini, but I think that they want to do that either probably at WWDC. If it wasn't so close to WWDC, that's the thing.
But that would again, the chip situation I feel like is a little weird because if they do announce an M4 iPad Pro, that'll be the debut of the M4 chip. Okay, cool. Last year at DubDub, we got the Mac Pro and Mac Studio with M2 Ultra. So are we going to get an M3 Ultra at DubDub, which that feels likely, it matches last year. Get the Mac Pro and Mac Studio to an M3 Ultra, but with an M4 already announced. And they've done this before. I understand, they've done this whole, announce the M2 and then the M1 Ultra comes out after it or whatever. And I understand the chips are different, but it just feels weird. I liked the nice and neat, all right, everything's M1. It's the M1 generation. You can get it in an iPad. You can get it in a Mac. And now it's M2. And now it just feels a little more confusing. And I understand most consumers probably don't even think about it or care. But as me, who someone's like, well, there's M4s out there. I want the M4 in my Mac, just like I have it. It's in my iPad. But yeah, I guess Apple doesn't.
Steven, you're the only person who thinks that 2021 was peak Apple Silicon. Okay, like it's getting better.
I'm not saying I want them to be slower. I liked the neatness. I like to be very organized, Jason. I like to be very systematic. Everything moves along. Because one of the things that I really disliked about the Intel era, because I wasn't super into that, but it was like very confusing to buy a Mac then. It's like, I don't know the difference between an i7 and an i9. And I guess if you don't know the difference, maybe you don't need the difference. But I was still doing video editing stuff back then, but I didn't know the ramifications. Like, I didn't realize if I wanted to run like an LED wall, getting an i5 is not like, that connection just didn't work back then. So I don't know. Hopefully Apple just makes it easy to understand what you should get. That's all.
That will definitely not happen. But I do think we can be confident that iPads are coming next week. I think there's a slightly better than 50% chance that the Pros will get the M4s instead of the M3s. I still think it's more likely they get the M3, just to be perfectly honest. But I don't think I don't discount this particular report from Mark Gurman, especially because he's pretty well sourced. But I think yes, it will be confusing. The two things, I think there's a good news, bad news. If the iPad Pro gets the M4, I think that's good news for people who like the Mac Studio and Mac Pro, because I think that they'll probably go into those two devices at WWDC. And I think it's also slightly bad news for the iPad, because I think that if the iPad Pro gets the M4, we may not see a new version for another 2 years.
And maybe that's the cycle Apple's trying to get to, is that kind of, because honestly, I mean, it's really the software that needs work on the iPad, because the hardware is amazing. The hardware has been amazing since 2018.
Yeah.
Like, people still have 2018 iPad Pros that are like amazing, performance wise and running all the stuff. So we will see. So Tuesday, May 7th, the event is at 10 a.m. Eastern. We're going to do a live recording recapping the event that afternoon. So stay tuned for information on that. There's a couple other short Apple things, and then I need Jason to explain what's going on with Tesla. We might put it as our personal tech, because Jason actually owns a Tesla.
Okay,
so
great.
That would make sense. But before we get to that, we do want to thank all of you who support the show directly. If you want to get an ad-free version, meaning this section is cut out, then support the show, $5 a month. You can do that on Memberful. Go to primarytech.fm and click bonus episodes, which you'll get bonus episodes every week. I think I'm going to ask Jason about more media library stuff, because I reviewed the recent Sofa app, and I'm curious if you keep track of all that. And also, I have another question for Jason. The streaming box that you recommend that's not Apple TV. So you could be thinking about that.
I do appreciate that. Okay, I click on a link and it's you start talking. I need a warning when I click on links that it's a video.
I need to put a note.
Auto plays. But I do appreciate that you're telling me now that I need to have answers to these questions. That's good.
Well,
that is helpful.
Yeah. So that's going to be our bonus episode. So if you want to hear all the bonus episodes, you can hear the entire back catalog, including Jason running an Ethernet cable across his lawn, so we have good internet for this podcast. Support the show. You can do that directly in Apple Podcasts or do it at Memberful. And of course, we would love for everyone to join our community. That's completely free at social.primarytech.fm. So thank you for those who are going to support the show. Join the community, and we appreciate you listening and watching. Leave us a 5-star review. If you can't support the show directly, a 5-star review in Apple Podcasts. Leave a little written review. Tell us if you have your battery percentage on or off, if you don't know what to say in the review. And we appreciate that as well. So thank you to all of those who support the show. All right, real quick, this can be our lightning round. I just want to mention Apple Insider, my alma mater there. There's Marko Zivkovic actually uncovered what could be one of the changes coming to iOS 18, which is integration between Apple's Calendar and Reminders app. This seems like a small feature, but would make sense if Apple is going to be introducing AI features where maybe the assistant can do things for you across apps, like you're in your calendar and you want to do a to-do or see both. And this is a feature that a lot of third-party calendars apps have, like Fantastical. You can literally see your stock reminders, to-dos in Fantastical in the calendar app, so a little integration there. I will say the calendar, mail, and contacts apps, it would still be great if Apple showed a lot of love to those at WWDC, because I feel like they're still lacking in a lot of ways. But interesting. I'm curious to see what Apple's going to do with these integrations cross apps and stuff.
Yeah, so I've started to think about the stock mail and calendar app especially. I actually think Reminders is really good. Mostly because I can just talk to my watch and it will tell me to. I guarantee you that at some point in the next hour, there'll be like 3 or 4 reminders that my wife just told me this morning, and I knew I wouldn't remember after we recorded this, and so I just tell my watch. So that's great.
I do that all the time. By the way, I can't do a reminder with the Rabbit R1, and it's still on the treadmill. I just want to point that out. That's all.
We should have recorded this as like a 37-minute video of the rabbit on the thing saying this is how good this thing is. Okay, but I've started to think about the stock calendar and the stock mail app is kind of like they have the Microsoft problem. What I mean by that is like Microsoft products often like have to appeal to the broadest common denominator. I was going to say lowest, but that's just insulting. But they have to appeal to like legacy use cases. And I feel like if you're going to put a mail app on the phone, 8% of people are just going to always use that, right? And 98% of 2 billion iPhone users are not you and I who want like a power user mail app. The same thing is true with the calendar. There are third-party calendar and third-party mail apps that do all the things that we want them to do. The stock ones cannot get that complicated. Now, would it be nice if the mail app had a share sheet? Like so that you could like send it to different things? That'd be amazing. That seems like that would appeal to the broadest common denominator. But at some level, I think they're just like most of the people who are using this don't need that. And the people who want those features, like I use Spark, and one of the main reasons is it's easy to share emails, snooze them, or reschedule them to show up at a different time. And it's super easy for me to like create filters and organize them in different ways. But the people who use the stock mail app don't care about any of those things. And so I don't think that Apple is going to ever do that. This does seem like a no-brainer, like being able to create a reminder from your calendar app. That's great. Sure. But again, I don't know. Like I would think it was a terrible idea if they just combined the two. It seems like based on this report, the reminders will still go to the reminders app. If I read this right.
I will say too, I am not one to put reminders in my calendars. Even like I use Fantastical on all my devices. I do not display any tasks or reminders in there because I am under the firm belief. I think I got this from Merlin Mann. Like calendar is for I have to be at a place at a certain time, or I have a call or meeting at a certain time, and that's it. Like I don't put tasks. Like I know a lot of people put tasks as like events, and they'll say, "Oh, well, I need to like pay my taxes on April 15th." And so I will create a calendar event for that, which maybe that's a bad example because I could understand why you might also want to do an event. But if it's like I have to take the trash out every Tuesday night and they put like a calendar event instead of using like a reminder, I feel like that actually muddies your productivity workflow. And I find actually just using the calendar for events and places you need to be or calls you need to take and using reminders or whatever things to do just your tasks, I like that separation, and so that's just how I function.
I agree with you. I don't use them. I do like that Fantastical allows you to sync reminders, and then you can create a calendar set that either includes that or does not include that, so that you're not staring at it all day. Because I mean, that is kind of a nice thing to have. But I agree with you. Like, I don't use my calendar for a task list because there's already enough nonsense on there that I don't need it getting clouded up with other things.
Right.
I use Things 3 for work related tasks, and then I use reminders for personal stuff. So
anyway, so I'll just say like I put my take out the trash, water softener, salt. I do all that in reminders because I don't want to see that during the workday, and I just wanted to pop up at the time that I had scheduled. And things is just my like these are my work tasks. Like this is what I do at work. So that's how I do.
I totally agree.
Real quick, iOS 17.5, the latest beta came out, and there's one feature that I think is actually great. It's actually going to introduce a repair state where if you're bringing your iPhone in to get repaired, assuming like other devices too, like an iPad, that you'll be able to set it into repair state, meaning you can still use Find My, even on your device that's being sent away by Apple to repair, and you don't have to disable Find My and stolen device protection. Which now stolen device protection, like I couldn't imagine if you go into an Apple store and you have to disable that, but you have to wait an hour because you have the whole, you can only wait an hour in order to turn it off.
Because you're not at home.
Right. Obviously you're not at home. So then you'll have like a ready for repair on the device. I think it's just a great feature. It's coming in 17.5 repair state, and it should make the whole process a little easier. So I appreciate that. Finally, Apple, the Digital Markets Act in the EU, they have said that iPadOS needs to adhere to all of the DMA restrictions and laws that are applying to the iPhone. So things like third-party browsers, third-party app marketplaces, being able to sideload from the web, all those changes that previously were iPhone only, the EU has said iPadOS has to comply as well. So in the EU, you'll be able to do all those things on your iPad in addition to your iPhone, which I felt like this was probably coming. Like the EU, they were gonna do this.
Yeah,
they're gonna do this either way. So
yeah, it seems weird to most of us because we're like, iPadOS, really? It's a gatekeeper. I mean, on the other hand, it's like it's the same. Why it would make no sense that you could download an app or subscribe to something outside of the App Store on the phone and then not use any of that on the iPad.
Right. If you hear a high-pitched squeaking, Jason's neighbors are getting siding. Just want everybody to know.
It's not actually squeaking. It's a saw.
Oh, it's a saw.
The high-pitched squeaking is the little mice that are putting the siding up. Yeah, my neighbors are getting siding. So, unfortunately, they did not put on their calendar, don't use a saw today. I should have asked them to add that to the reminders app. So.
Oh, my word. Okay, well, I do need you to speak through the squeaking and tell me what is happening with Tesla. You have a Tesla, so I'm going to put this as our personal tech. But you had an article talking about all the rounds of layoffs, and then I tried to sneak this next article in on you, which is Tesla laid off the entire team behind its brakes, which is not true. That was actually an Onion article. I thought it was really funny.
I mean, it's not true yet.
Well, when I saw this headline, I was like, I didn't know it was the Onion at first. I just saw the headline, and it totally comported with what I've been seeing in the news about Tesla recently. So I was like, oh, shoot, is that real? Turns out that's an Onion article. But there have been ridiculous layoffs, and Elon is struggling. And so, Jason, you have a Tesla. In our community, you actually asked a question to our listeners and viewers, like, how does this affect, like, the supercharger team, I think was one thing that they laid off or announced the thing. So, like, how does this affect your process as a Tesla owner, or maybe someone who's looking at getting a Tesla, which I've talked about. I've been eyeing Model 3s. I don't know if that's a bad idea now. I don't know. So what has been going on with Tesla?
Yeah, so, okay, I'm going to make this quick. I'm going to try to speak between saw using. But Tesla laid off about 10% of its workforce, or it announced it was going to lay off about 10% of its workforce, and that was like a month or so ago. Then it seems like some of the executives at Tesla were like, pushing back on, hey, I kind of need some of these people on my team. And so they were kind of dragging their heels in terms of the speed of the layoffs. And Elon Musk is like, no, we have to be absolutely hardcore, which is kind of like the thing he says. He said that, I think he said extremely hardcore when he took over Twitter. But
we're sleeping in these offices, not leaving. Yeah.
Now he's using absolutely hardcore because people aren't quite as extreme. I don't know. So he let go of 2 high-level executives, and actually then another report came that the head of HR is also leaving, which is sort of ironic. But anyway, in one of them, I think it's Rebecca Tanucci. I'm going to have said that name wrong. It's in the article, but I don't have it in front of me. Who is the head of their charging?
Yeah, you said it right.
Yeah, Rebecca Tanucci, who is the head of charging, and then also, I don't know his name, but he's the head of new cars. So like. Seems like 2 relatively important roles, but it sounds as though maybe they were pushing back on some of these layoffs, or at least the pace of them. And so Elon Musk wanted to make a point. And he's like, no, I'm serious about this. And if you don't do what I say, I'll just get rid of you and your whole team. And so judging by the LinkedIn posts and that kind of stuff, it looks like most of the EV charging team was laid off. Now, oh, you're right. I asked people in our community what they thought, and most of them were like, it doesn't matter. And I think that if you're an existing Tesla owner and you've had a Tesla for a while, it is less of a thing for you. I have a charger in my garage. Like, I charge it up every night, but it's not a big deal. We never use a supercharger unless we're traveling. But if you're buying an electric vehicle and you've never had one, the entire reason that I think the supercharger network was Tesla's greatest marketing coup, and maybe one of the greatest marketing coups of all time, because it took away the anxiety of how far can I drive this thing before I have to sit in it for days to wait for someone to bring me a battery or something. Like, it took away that anxiety, because it's originally, if you bought a Model S back in like 2013, it included unlimited free supercharging. Like, you could charge it anywhere. And Tesla has built out their charging network. It's bigger than everyone else's. Most of the other charging networks are run by relatively small operators, or there's like, I think it's Electrify America that was like basically court ordered for Volkswagen after Dieselgate. It's like you polluted the air so much, now you have to make electric chargers, and they don't really care. Like, it's just not a priority. They just are doing it because they have to. And so the supercharger network was the best thing about driving a Tesla. It's the reason that like for me, Tesla, that's the only electric vehicle I'd consider. Now that's changed because every automaker has now said we're going to adopt Tesla's standard, and Tesla has been opening up the supercharger network to Ford, for example, and to all of these other companies.
Rivian.
Yeah, well, it's actually like you can actually now plug your car in if you're a Ford, and it'll just do it. I think you're right. I think Rivian is the same way, and it's coming to other vehicles in the future. I think it makes it like a little bit of, there's some uncertainty there, like how committed is Tesla to this? And some of the reports I've seen is that Tesla's still committed to the supercharger network. Elon just wanted to make a point. And the problem with that is, I think last week I described it maybe as a clown show. And I think that like Elon Musk is like, yup, let me show you. Like, you mess around and this is what's going to happen, without considering, hey, like, this was the thing. I mean, I'm sure that Elon Musk thinks that the reason people buy Teslas is because of him. I think that's probably what he thinks. I think the reason that most early adopters bought Teslas was because of the supercharger network. They wanted to drive a Tesla, or they wanted to drive an electric vehicle, and Tesla was the only one that had a good charging network. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out. I really hope they're not giving up on the supercharger network as it exists right now, and I hope they continue to expand it, because there's about to be a whole lot more vehicles using it. So
I was surprised when was it court ordered, or did Tesla just say, yeah, anybody can use the supercharger network?
So there was, the Biden administration passed, I think it was like the Inflation Reduction Act, or some bill had other stuff in it, and one of the things they had in it was money, federal money, for charging networks that were, I think that the key was you couldn't be proprietary to only one type of vehicle. You had to open up to multiple types of vehicles. And so that was when they first said, yeah, we'll open up to other vehicles. So,
because I know right now, like if you have a Rivian R1S or R1T, you can order like this adapter. I saw Quinn Nelson from Snazzy Labs like do a little video where he'd like put this adapter on his Rivian on the charger at the Tesla supercharger station, and then he could plug it into his Rivian and charge that right now. And then the R2 and R3 that Rivian announced recently will have just the same port. So you could just
NACS
plug in
port. Yep.
Right. So that's interesting. So you already have a Tesla. So I mean, you're kind of there. I have been looking at used Teslas because you can actually get them for very reasonable costs now. If you want to get a Model 3 or even a Model S,
you can get a new one for a pretty reasonable cost right now. They keep lowering the price,
which I just keep waiting because I'm like, all this news about Tesla, maybe these prices are just going to keep going down. I don't know. But do you think in 2024, as we are now, like, if you're looking at electric cars, how much should you be weighing the supercharger thing versus the layoffs versus, like, is Tesla still like one of the better, not apart from Elon himself, but just like as the car, like, is this still good?
Yeah.
Good
so
choice?
like in the arena that the Model 3 competes in, especially, I still think the Model 3 is a fantastic option for anyone. I mean, because of the availability of the charging network, and it's great that like you can plug your Ford F-150 Lightning in, and it will just charge. Same thing with your Rivian, but the interface is still always better with the Tesla app. The Tesla interface will show you like the availability of the charger, how many stalls are available, if there's any that are down, what speeds are available, all that kind of stuff. There's still going to be some slightly better integrations there. I think that there are enough Model 3s on the road that there's such a large community around it that you are going to have a lot more access to that kind of thing. I don't think that Tesla is necessarily better at a lot of the things. Like, Ford has been selling cars for a very long time. They have dealers, they have maintenance people, they have all that kind of stuff. That's gonna be fine too. Like, I know people that have Mach-E's and love them. Like, that's great.
Right.
But if you can find a used Model 3, there's just so much more supply of the secondhand market for Teslas because they've existed for so much longer that I think you can find a really good deal on them. And people have been driving them for a long time. You just like, what you're going to get. That if you buy, like, I have a 2018 Model S. If somebody said to me, should I buy a 2018 Model S? I'd be like, yeah, it's great. Like, it'll be fine. Like, just drive it. It'll do really well. So I still think that if you can set aside all of the antics, like I would still recommend anybody look at a Model 3.
And Tesla, the app has shortcuts actions, which I think is the only car model that has. And just for me personally, I mean, shortcuts. It's one of my things. So,
Yeah. Well,
do you use any of them?
No, I don't use any of them, but I do use the app, and I just have a widget on my home screen that has like it'll show me the current state of charge. I can unlock the doors. I can see where it is if somebody else is using it. I think all that stuff. And like Tesla, a lot of the people knock it because it doesn't have CarPlay. Most of them, I think Polestars might be the only electric vehicles that have CarPlay in them. Maybe the F-150 Lightning does. I don't know, but it's fine. Tesla software's fine. It's not like amazing, but it's fine. It does what it's supposed to do. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I keep eyeing them. I keep going on that pre-owned Tesla website, and I'm like, man, there's some good deals.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Do you think? I also look on Facebook Marketplace because there's even better deals on there.
Sure.
But I mean, do you think that's still? I might have asked this already before, but like the process of like taking ownership of a Tesla, like private owner to private owner, is that pretty seamless process?
Yeah, you just they remove it from their app and you add it to yours. Like that's it.
That's it.
I mean, there's like the paperwork you have to do with the Secretary of State or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, transferring ownership from that perspective is just as easy as removing it from an app and adding it to someone else's.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to keep looking into it. Yeah. If you want to talk more about the Tesla, either current situation or if you're considering getting one, I would love to hear your experience in the community. So go to social.primarytech.fm. Let us know there. And I'm going to start another thread. I might call this the personal tech section redux. Just real quick before we go to the bonus episode, what charger do you use on your nightstand for your iPhone and Apple Watch and all that?
I have whatever the Anchor round-looking thing that flips up at the top.
Oh, you use that one on the nightstand?
Yeah, because I can use, what do they call it? Standby mode, display mode, whatever the nighttime thing.
Standby.
It's like tell me the time at night mode. I don't know what it's called, but yeah.
Well, nightstand is like what the Apple Watch does when you turn it on the side. Standby is what the iPhone, which they should have saved night mode for the phone. But anyway.
Yeah, so I use that one because you can charge the AirPods right on the little top of it, and then you can flip it up and put the phone. And then I actually just use like the cord that came with the Apple Watch to charge it because it doesn't have a charger, and it's fine. Like I don't care that they're not all in one. It's fine. Like it doesn't need to be that fancy for me. But the only thing I really wanted was the ability to use the nightstand mode or whatever we're not calling it. Again, names are hard. Standby mode. Is it really called standby mode?
Yeah.
I don't. Okay. I believe you. That seems weird because it's like it's not really in standby, but I guess they do call it standby mode. So
standby mode, yeah.
Standby. But I wanted to be able to use it, and I was using a different like stand that was like you had to put the puck in it, which was fine. It's just that if you don't take it off exactly right, like you end up bringing the puck with you, and all of a sudden you yank things out of the wall, and it's messy.
I'm obsessed with chargers, and so I'm going to be doing a review video soon. But I just got this ESR one. It's another 3-in-1.
That's too much.
No. It's just enough. I'm gonna. There's this one. There's the Belkin. I got an Anchor. I'm gonna do a comparison. So I'll follow up. Right now, I use the.
If it looks like an accessory from a Star Wars movie, it's too much. Like that looks like, I don't know, Next Generation AT-AT or something like that. I don't know.
Oh, this thing. Anyway, I'm going to be reviewing those. But I use the 12 South High Rise Deluxe 3, if anybody's wondering. But I'm going to cover them all in the video. So
lots of words.
Anyway, I'm going to start a poll or another post in the community, too, about what chargers everybody's used. But join us there, social.primarytech.fm. Again, you can support the show. Hear the bonus episode. We're about to talk about streaming boxes that aren't Apple TVs and why and which one you might recommend to someone. We're going to get into it. So if you want to listen to that bonus episode, support us directly in Apple Podcasts or at primarytech.fm and click bonus episodes. And there'll be future benefits as well. And so you can hear about those soon. And live stream May 7th at 3 p.m. Eastern around then. And we're going to talk about the iPad event recap. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you next week.